You think loneliness is a modern problem? Instagram, remote work, empty apartments? But here's the actual thing. Studies show ancient humans felt it stronger than we do, and for them, ignoring it could get you killed. Picture a single figure by a dying fire 40,000 years ago. No phone, no city, no group chat. Just wind, stars, and the low sound of something breathing in the dark, somewhere close, somewhere unseen tonight. Did that person ache the way you ache on a Sunday night? Turns out loneliness is older than language. Let's slow down here because loneliness and solitude are not the same thing at all, not even close. Solitude is being alone and fine with it. Loneliness is being alone while your body starts screaming inside. That scream needs one very specific ingredient: self-awareness. You have to know that you actually exist here. You must know others exist too, and notice the painful gap between you and all of them out there. Our ancestors had all three ingredients. Their brains, 200,000 years ago, were already wired for that math. And this question matters because right now, in the year you're watching this, loneliness is called an epidemic. Doctors talk about it like a disease. But if it's a disease, it's a very old one indeed. Scientists found traces of it in bones, in burial sites, in the shape of ancient prehistoric skulls. They found it in stress hormones that leave chemical marks on teeth. This isn't a modern glitch anymore. This is inherited software running quietly inside every one of us since long before recorded history began. But if loneliness hurts so much, why did evolution keep it around and not delete it like our tails? Here's the paradox. Loneliness is a pain that helps you survive. Think about physical pain for a moment. If you touch a hot stove and feel nothing, you lose your hand. Pain is a messenger, urgent. It says, do something right now or you'll be in trouble. Loneliness works exactly the same way. It's an alarm. On the ancient savanna, that alarm was the difference between waking tomorrow or never again. Because being alone back then was basically a death sentence with extra steps, no exceptions or clever workarounds. One human alone could not bring down a large animal, could not watch all night for hungry predators. One human could not survive a broken leg, a fever, a bad winter, or a long dry season. The lone hunter is a movie idea. In real prehistory, the lone hunter was simply lunch, nothing more. So natural selection did something clever and a little cruel to keep our ancestors close to their tribe. It favored the individuals who felt absolutely terrible whenever they found themselves alone, far from the group's warmth. Those who felt fine drifting away from the group, they drifted, they died. Their genes died too. The ones who felt sharp, gnawing discomfort at separation came back and rejoined the fire. Every single time. They passed that discomfort to their kids, and their kids to theirs, and eventually all the way to you. That's why loneliness feels like a smoke alarm going off deep inside your ribs, screaming for attention now. Because that's exactly what it is. A biological smoke alarm installed in humans roughly 2 million years ago. Still bolted to the ceiling of your nervous system, still very loud, still not really designed to be ignored. So what did that alarm actually sound like 40,000 years ago? And what did it do to the body? Modern researchers can only guess at ancient feelings, but they can carefully measure ancient stress in living people today. When a modern person gets separated from their close group, even just briefly, their cortisol levels rise almost immediately. Cortisol is the stress hormone. It's actually useful in short bursts, but it becomes poison in long ones. Cortisol basically tells your body to stay alert, stay ready, something out there is wrong, don't relax yet. And in ancient humans, cut off from the band, cortisol would have stayed elevated for many long days. Sleep gets lighter. You wake up at every crack in the brush, every dry rustle of leaves outside. Wounds heal slower because your body is spending its energy on watching for threats, not on repairing itself. Your immune system quietly weakens over the weeks. Even your appetite shifts in strange ways you barely notice. Brain scans of modern hunter-gatherer communities, groups still living closer to the ancestral pattern, show something interesting. Their stress responses to social isolation appear strong, incredibly fast, and remarkably hard to fully shut off again. Their brains actually treat being separated from the group the same exact way they treat direct physical danger. Same neural circuits fire, same alarm bells ringing. To your brain, loneliness and a stalking predator feel identical. There's a specific number you might have heard before. Dunbar's number, 150. Just remember that figure. That's roughly how many stable, meaningful relationships any single human brain can actually manage to properly hold together. Not friends on an app or a follower list. Actual people whose faces, voices, and stories you know. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar carefully studied ancient band sizes, tribal villages, military units, and even modern corporate office structures. And he kept finding this exact same rough ceiling appearing everywhere he cared to look. 150. Our own ancestors lived inside groups roughly that size, generation after generation, for tens of thousands of years. Your brain still quietly expects that. Your brain is still looking, even now, for that missing ancient village. Imagine you're the one left behind. Your band has moved on without you. Maybe you were sick or slow. Maybe you got lost tracking an animal. Maybe you argued and stormed off, and now understand your mistake. In the cooling evening, there is no map, no phone. There is just direction, hunger, and growing dread. The shape you saw in the trees might not have been a shadow. Your heart rate climbs steadily. Your skin gets that strange prickling attention. This is the alarm. This is what loneliness was built for. Then archaeologists dug up something in a cave that completely changed the story we tell about our ancestors. In northern Iraq, in a cave called Shanidar, researchers found a Neanderthal burial with something remarkable nearby. Around the body, in the soil, they found pollen. Concentrated pollen from specific flowers, arranged in deliberate patterns. The interpretation is debated. Some say flowers were placed on the grave. Others say rodents moved the seeds. But other Shanidar burials show clear signs of care. Bodies arranged, positions chosen, the dead treated tenderly. Neanderthals grieved their dead. That's the working understanding now. And grief, turns out, is a very specific thing. Grief is loneliness with a name attached. Grief means you were once deeply attached to another person. It means their absence carves a shape inside you. And that shape hurts, because once it was full. Which means loneliness wasn't invented by Homo sapiens. It wasn't even unique to our own species at all. Another species, on a parallel branch of the human family, was already feeling that exact same ache. Already sitting by fires missing people who weren't coming back. Already covering the dead with tenderness and flowers. But here's the thing. It gets weirder. One skeleton suggests loneliness, or the fear of it, lasted decades. That skeleton is the old man of La Chapelle, found in France, though the story echoes Shanidar exactly. He was old for his time, 40s or 50s, which in the Ice Age counted as ancient. His body was broken. He had lost most teeth. His jaw reshaped itself around the empty gaps. Severe arthritis. He could not have hunted. He could barely have chewed the soft food he needed. And yet he lived years in that condition. Which means someone in his group was feeding him. Someone softened his food. Someone made sure he had a warm spot near the group's small fire. His band kept him alive long past the point where a brutal calculation would have abandoned him. That's the other side of loneliness. Not just fear of being alone, but the invisible daily contract, the quiet decision made every day that we simply do not leave our own kind behind in weakness. The old man didn't die alone in the snow. He died among people, warm, cared for, remembered. That only happens in a species that decided isolation is worse than the daily tiring cost of care. Now flip that around. If care is the reward for belonging, then exile becomes the ultimate punishment. And ancient humans knew how to exile. Nearly every culture studied has some quiet version of ostracism, a ritual for pushing someone out. Silence, turned backs, a formal announcement declaring the person no longer belonged. In some tribes, the exile's name was never spoken again by anyone still inside the surviving group. In others, they were walked to the territory's edge and told never to return, under any circumstance. This was not social awkwardness. This was death, delivered slowly by a group that refused to see you. A solo human in unfamiliar land had days, maybe weeks, then hunger, then predators, then final silence. And you can see this in the archaeological record, sort of by absence. Solo hunters mostly vanish. The skeletons we find far from any settlement, alone, are rare, and their stories usually end badly. Ancient humans lived and died in groups. That was the deal. Which raises a much darker question. What happens when you're not just exiled from your group, but you're the last of your kind? Roughly 40,000 years ago, somewhere out there was a last Neanderthal still walking this earth. We don't know who. We don't know where exactly. Probably Iberia, maybe a cave near the sea. Neanderthals disappeared from the fossil record around that time as Homo sapiens spread across their old territory. Faster, more numerous, better networked than the locals. A brand new super predator arriving on the landscape. Think about that last Neanderthal for a second. Their parents were dead. Their siblings were dead too. The neighboring band, gone. Every single face they had known since childhood, gone from the valley forever. They looked across the valley and saw new humans, taller, thinner, speaking a language that sounded almost right, but not quite. Those humans were not their people. Could not be their people. Not really. Ever. 200,000 years of shared ancestry sitting behind the eyes, and no way to say hello. We don't know if that person felt loneliness the way you would feel it sitting alone tonight, but we know they had the biology for it. Their species buried their dead with real care. Their brains were, by every measure we can take, fully capable of sadness, grief, and deep longing. And if your nervous system is built to scream when the band is gone, being last screams loudest. Studies show that social pain and physical pain use overlapping brain circuits, sharing the same neural real estate. When you get rejected, some of the same regions light up that fire when you burn your hand. Your brain, in a very real sense, cannot fully tell them apart. Rejection, literally, is a burn inside. Loneliness is a wound. Grief is an injury with no visible bleeding, but real damage aching underneath. So, did ancient humans get lonely? Yes. And more than that, loneliness actually shaped everything about them. It shaped their groups, their rituals, their care for the old, their deep fear of the outsider, their willingness to bury each other with flowers. Loneliness is one of the oldest sculptors of humanity. It made us social because it made being unsocial unbearable. That ancient ache still runs your nervous system. Strange thing to sit with in the century you're living in, surrounded by more people than ever. You probably don't live in a band of 150, but a city of 8 million, or a suburb of strangers, or a small town where you know faces but never really their stories. You are surrounded by humans, technically, and your brain is still going, "Where is my actual village?" That's why crowded places can feel so empty. A subway car with 50 strangers feels somehow hollow. Your alarm is looking for specific faces of specific people who have actually known you for years. Anonymous crowds don't turn it off. Sometimes they actually make the ache worse instead of easing it. Because now the ache has proof. Look at all these people around you who are not yours. Screens do a strange thing, too. They deliver the shape of connection without any of the substance. A message from a friend gives you a small hit, sure, but your body is still waiting. Waiting for the face, the voice, the shared meal, the shoulder sitting in the same warm room. Scientists found heavy screen socializing without physical presence can leave your ancient alarm system partly turned on. Your brain gets the postcard, but not the visit. And so it just keeps quietly waiting for more. So here's a small reframe. And honestly, it's the most useful thing this whole video can give you. Loneliness is not a flaw, not a personal failing, not evidence that something inside you is broken. It is a signal, hundreds of thousands of years old, telling you a fundamental need is unmet. The signal is working. That's genuinely the good news. The bad news is modern life ignores it. And modern life is very bad at ever actually answering it, no matter how loudly it rings. Our ancestors had small rituals for the alarm, eating together every night, not because it efficient, but essential. Sitting in a circle, grooming each other's hair, telling the same stories until they became a shared skin. Touch. Long silences that were never awkward. Repetition. Presence. Ordinary human things done together, again and again. None of this was invented by a wellness app. It was standard operating procedure for 100,000 years. You can borrow those rituals, not in a costume, just in the structure, small, repeated, physical, unhurried. A shared meal with the same 3 people every single week. A walk with a friend, phones away. A conversation that goes past its comfortable length. These are not luxuries or optional wellness add-ons for you. These are the actual answer to the actual signal your body has been sending you all along. Which loops back to a strange question. What if we start filling that ancient need with something entirely new? Artificial companions, chatbots that remember your birthday, voices trained on endless kindness. Some people talk to them for hours. Some say it helps. Some say it makes the ache louder in a way they can't quite explain. The honest answer is, nobody knows yet. We're running this experiment in real time, all of us together. Maybe the alarm doesn't care where the warmth comes from, as long as something warm shows up at all. Or maybe the alarm knows the difference and gets more insistent when it senses that it's being tricked. Or maybe it's different for different people. Anyone claiming a clean answer is just guessing louder than the rest. What we know is this: the alarm is very old, very patient, and very hard to fool for long. Natural selection built it to notice one specific thing: the shape of your people around the fire. It's been running that same check every single day of your life since before you were even born. And whatever we build to answer it, we'll be answering something ancient that's been waiting a very long time. One more thing before you go. If old bones and old feelings are your kind of thing, subscribe. I make videos about stuff I'm genuinely curious about, and honestly, I like having you around here. Next one I'm working on is about why humans invented gods in the first place. Same question, different ache. If this made you curious, stick around.